Hey man, y'all know what time it is. Hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. Man, what a crazy wild card weekend. Shout out to the Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Rams for giving us the only good game. I mean, half these teams in the playoffs look like they ain't belong there in the first place. Cleveland, what the hell was that? Y'all's defense looked like you ain't even want to play. You got Houston's wide receivers running wide open up and down the field. And props to CJ Stroud for making all the throws he needed to make. And props to that defense for showing up as well. But damn, y'all couldn't cover a bed. In Dallas, I got one question for y'all, man. Why ain't y'all firing Mike McCarthy yet? We 2 days removed from y'all getting y'all's doors blown the fuck off, and he's still head coach. Push that button, man. But we gonna get to that later. But yeah, man. And Philly, Jesus, man. Y'all really let yourself go outside like that? Man, we got some things to discuss. But anyway, I'm gonna start off with this Cleveland Browns Houston Texans game. So I predicted the Browns to win by about 6 points. And I expected it to be a pretty close game all the way through because of Cleveland's pass rush and how well their defense has played this season. Coming into this matchup, I totally underestimated how bad the Browns' defense has looked on the road, and it definitely showed against Houston. I mean, they looked like they simply did not know how to play defense. I mean, you got guys open left and right consistently. And the Browns pass rush just completely disappeared. Myles Garrett was not a factor at all. Zadarius Smith was not a factor at all. And they just kept giving up chunk plays to the Texans. And another thing I underestimated was how much of a turnover machine Joe Flacco has been these past few weeks, despite the fact they have been winning games. You throw 2 back-to-back pick sixes, and that busted the game wide open for Houston. This game was definitely a letdown because I expected it to be a lot closer than what it was. And it just seemed like, once Houston got out in front, they just never looked back. And that Houston Texans team, man, is such a special squad, But, yeah, I'd be lying if I said I thought they'd come out rolling on all cylinders the way they did. You got to give big props to that team. But that's enough about that game, man. So, moving on. Chiefs beat Miami Dolphins 26-7. To be honest, that's exactly how I thought that game was going to go. I honestly think that Miami's season ended when they lost to Tennessee on Monday Night Football. Or you let yourself get in a scenario where you have to go into Kansas City when it's negative however many degrees and attempt to get a playoff win. Nah, I don't think any of us was really expecting that to happen, to be honest. But it's sad because they really didn't have to be in this position. I mean, you beat Buffalo Week 18, and you're hosting a playoff game instead of going on the road against Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce. I mean, the Chiefs' defense has been doing what it's been doing all season long, and it's really one of those elite units up there with Baltimore and San Fran. I'm putting their defense right up there with those other two teams for this season. And they absolutely handled business. Snead did a great job on Tyreek Hill. Outside of the touchdown that he had, I mean, he really didn't have any big plays. Miami's offense really just couldn't get any big plays going. And I really think that Kansas City caught them off guard with the amount of times they threw the football, because that's what great quarterbacks do. They're able to throw the football when it's freezing cold outside the way it was. So, yeah, of course, to nobody's surprise, Patrick Mahomes showed up ready to play, and they did what they had to do. I definitely expected Kansas City to run the ball a little bit more, so it doesn't surprise me that the score was as lopsided as it was. Honestly, I really thought Miami would be able to get the ball running a little bit, but they just couldn't establish anything on offense, man. And they looked like they was ready to come off the field, which I can't blame them. I mean, it was cold as hell outside. But, I mean, when it's playoff football, you got to come ready to battle no matter the conditions. Tua didn't look like himself. I mean, he wasn't making the throws. They was taking away his first option. And that was putting him in positions where he had to create offense. And that's just not who he is. All right, so moving along, man. Going into this Green Bay-Dallas game, listen, I owe everybody who's a Packers fan, the Packers organization, a huge apology because I had them getting blown out. Well, it turns out the fraudulent team was on the other side of the football instead. Good God, Dallas. That was probably the worst loss I've ever seen Dallas take since I've watched NFL football. I mean, they didn't guard the middle of the field. Every time Jordan Love dropped back to pass, he had all the time in the world to throw. And the middle of the field was just wide open. You got Dobbs cutting across the middle, Wicks cutting across the middle, Musgrave. You got these guys running wide open. And I don't know what was going on with Dallas's offense, but Dak and CeeDee Lamb just could not get on the same page for some odd reason. And they've been hitting all season long. But this one game where y'all really need to step up, the chemistry was just gone. And you could see it. You could see CeeDee Lamb's frustration in the first half because they just weren't getting it right. And not only that, but they struggled running the football. This was just an all-time collapse for Dallas. And I just don't see how you let this game happen and go into the offseason and not make any changes. I know a lot of people are saying that Dak needs to get traded, but I don't think they should trade Dak because he was still an MVP candidate this season. And honestly, if you're going to trade Dak, who are you going to get? What other upgrade is out there? So there's not an upgrade for the quarterback position, but there is an upgrade for the head coach position. So that's why myself, just like a lot of other people, really think Mike McCarthy needs to get canned. You got to bring in Mike Vrabel or Belichick or somebody who is an elite coaching candidate to upgrade this team and get the most out of it. Because when you get the same results 3 years in a row, well, ultimately the same results given that they won a playoff game last season, I mean, you have to switch something up. You cannot run this back. You absolutely cannot run this back. I mean, everything that went wrong for Dallas did, in fact, go wrong. And I could not have seen this coming from a mile away. I mean, 48-16 at one point with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Good God almighty, Dallas. Y'all look like y'all didn't belong in the playoffs to begin with. I mean, y'all were dominant at home all season long. And then y'all get y'all's asses kicked at home in the playoff game. But Green Bay, on the other hand, this shout out to this team. Jordan Love looked like the second coming of Aaron Rodgers out there. I mean, if it's one thing Green Bay is going to do, they're going to keep them a quarterback one, best believe it. They're going to keep them a QB one. And Aaron Jones, man, I know a lot of been praising Jordan Love, but look, Aaron Jones he balled out. He balled the hell out. 3 touchdowns against Dallas. And he was really helping that offense go as well. Like, everybody on that offense came to play. The receivers, the tight end, everybody had a phenomenal performance. And Matt LaFleur just simply put on a coaching masterclass, man. Like, everything he drew up was just absolutely working, and Dallas had no answer for it. Like, he just completely outcoached Mike McCarthy, and it showed on all 3 phases. Man, offense, defense, and special teams, man. Just an all-out ass kicking. All right, now going into the Detroit-Los Angeles game, man, this game was everything it was hyped up to be, in my opinion. Only thing I thought it'd be a bit more high scoring. I honestly thought both teams would score at least 34, 35 points. But in the second half, the game did slow down a little bit. But yeah, man, like phenomenal performances from both offenses. As far as the defenses go, man, the Lions defense still worries me. They made timely plays, but they really let the Rams back in the game. Matthew Stafford put on an incredible performance. I mean, he is a true warrior. And those who've been watching Matthew Stafford for years definitely should not have been surprised by what y'all seen out of him this past weekend. And I mean, he did everything he could to keep the Rams in the game and try to get them to win. Cooper Kupp was non-existent. I don't know where he went. I don't know what happened to Cooper Kupp in this game, but he really left Matthew Stafford hanging out there, man. It was really just him and Puka and Kyron Williams. He was getting it going in the second half until he got hurt. But yeah, man, you got to give props to this Lions team. I mean, they pretty much took Aaron Donald out the game. I mean, you saw they was double teaming him, triple teaming him, and Jared Goff, he had a nice amount of time to throw for the most part. He was making the throws. During the fourth quarter, he was starting to get a little shaky, and I definitely got worried. At one point, I for sure thought the Rams was going to come back and win, but Detroit was able to hold them off. Sean McVay, I have no reason why he didn't go for it on 4th and 14 when you're deep in your opponent's territory. And Matthew Stafford had the hot hand. I mean, I just feel like you absolutely have to give him that chance to make that kind of play, especially when you have a quarterback of that caliber. I mean, that's why you trade for Matthew Stafford, is for those types of moments. But they decided to punt, and I did not agree with that. And I feel like that's pretty much where they lost that game. Another thing that stood out to me, which has stood out to me all season long, was Detroit's run game. That 1-2 combo at running back, Gibbs and Montgomery. Man, listen, whenever you have two running backs who can run the football and one who can catch and run the football, man, like it's like your offense is going to be dangerous no matter what. And you pair that with a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta, man, this Lions offense is going to continue to be dangerous throughout the playoffs. And I'm really intrigued to see how far they can actually go. I really think they can go the distance, but they're going to have to get that defense to come together somehow. But yeah, this was an incredible game. One of everybody's most anticipated playoff games of the weekend, and it definitely lived up to the hype. All right, man, on to the next game. Buffalo-Pittsburgh. Buffalo won 31-17. Josh Allen threw for 3 touchdowns, ran for a touchdown, 52 yards. One of the best runs I've ever seen from a QB. Hell, probably the best run in Josh Allen's career. I mean, that was incredible to watch. And, I mean, Buffalo was in control from start to finish. I mean, they went up quick, 21-0 against Pittsburgh. And, man, if you was expecting Pittsburgh to really make something shake with Mason Rudolph, I really don't know what to tell you. I mean, this offense has been sputtering all season long, and then you have a defense without your best player. I mean, it's really no shock that Buffalo won by 2 scores. Only thing I was worried about going into this game is just how volatile Josh Allen can be sometimes with turnovers. But he took care of the ball, no turnovers, and he was able to do everything that he needed in order for them to win. And on top of that, man, Buffalo's defense looked really good out there also. One thing I am worried about is the injuries they have on defense. I want to say they lost a couple of linebackers. Not sure what their status is going to be for their game against Kansas City, but something to keep in mind is that they're playing against the Chiefs with 2 days less rest because the game had gotten rescheduled from Sunday to Monday. So going up against a Chiefs team that's a little more rested than you are, and you're down a couple of linebackers, I don't really know if I like their chances, but we'll cover that in another video. But yeah, man, Buffalo, I mean, they did everything they needed to do to win this game. And I mean, it really came down to just Pittsburgh not having any answers for Josh Allen. All right, man. And last game for Wild Card Weekend, Tampa Bay versus Philadelphia. I had Philadelphia winning this game, largely due to the fact I thought that they'd be more successful running the ball than what they were. Honestly, I have no reason why they abandoned the run because Swift was getting good yardage, but they kept going through the air. And I mean, nothing was really there. You know, they kept running screenplays and they weren't going anywhere. And then on defense, I mean, this is probably one of the worst tackling. That was probably one of the worst tackling efforts on defense that I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, it's like they just could not wrap up Tampa Bay's offense. And honestly, if it weren't for all the drop passes that the Buccaneers had, they probably would have lost in the same fashion Dallas did. So, yeah, I definitely did not expect to see both the NFC East teams get knocked out of the first round. Definitely disappointing for both of them. But, yeah, man, Philadelphia, they just completely got outplayed on both sides of the football. I mean, Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith, they were pretty much the main ones playing like they actually wanted to win, like they wanted to keep their team in the game. But, man, their offense just kept stalling out. And even when the defense did get the stops that they needed, the offense just could not capitalize. So I got to give props to Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield was lights out. I mean, he had like 330 something pass yards. He really could have had like 450 pass yards if we're being honest. Like, he should have had way more stats than what he had because of how bad Philadelphia's defense was playing. So, yeah, man, that was definitely a lopsided game. I did not expect it to be that lopsided. So, yeah, overall, man, this wild card weekend was full of surprises, but underwhelming at the same time due to all the blowouts. I mean, a lot of these teams just look like they didn't belong in the playoffs to begin with. I mean, Philadelphia, Dallas, Cleveland. I mean, it's just no way you let yourself get blown out by that many points in the first round. And yeah, I was just hoping for better games. But going into the divisional round, I think we'll see much better matchups. I mean, we got Houston versus Baltimore, we got Kansas City versus Buffalo, San Fran versus Green Bay, and Detroit versus Tampa Bay. I think at least half of those games will be closer than the ones that we've seen wild card weekend. So yeah, man, that wraps that up for me. For more content, hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. I'll see y'all next time.